1. The hidden war inside you. There is a silent war happening inside you, and no one sees it but you. The world applauds your smile, your strength, your self-control, but they don't hear the voice that whispers, "You're not enough." You wear masks every day, capable, confident, composed, but underneath it all is a haunting question. Am I really built for this life I want? Or am I lying to myself? That question, that hesitation, is the seed of self-doubt. And like Marcus Aurelius warned, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. But here's the tragedy. Most men never realize it. They live as prisoners to a lie they've rehearsed so many times that it now feels like truth. You weren't born with self-doubt. You learned it through rejection, through judgment, through years of being compared to those who seemed stronger, louder, or more accomplished. And eventually, you internalized a message. Play small. Stay safe. Don't overreach. But let me tell you something the Stoics lived and breathed. Fear is the voice of fiction, and self-doubt is fear in disguise. The Stoics knew that underestimating yourself isn't humility. It's a failure of perception. It's ignoring the divine fire within you. Epictetus said, "You are a soul carrying a corpse." He wasn't being morbid. He was reminding us that you are not your limitations. You are the spirit behind the body, the fire behind the form, the will behind the wall. Every time you hesitate because you don't feel ready, every time you wait for permission to rise, every time you measure yourself by someone else's timeline, you betray the potential within you. And it's not that you're incapable, it's that you've forgotten that capacity is not something given, it's something summoned. Your mind can become a prison where you rehearse your inadequacy, or it can become a fortress of clarity, virtue, and resolve. But you must choose every morning, every challenge, every failure, because the voice in your head is either your jailer or your general. You are not too late. You are not too broken, and you are not too far gone. You are untapped, unawakened, and undefeated, unless you choose to surrender to self-doubt. So if you've been underestimating yourself, good, because now we know what to destroy. And in its place, we will build something unshakable. 2. The ancestral fire in your blood. They told you to believe in yourself, but they never told you why. So let me show you something deeper than motivation. Let me show you what's living inside your blood. Because the man you see in the mirror today, he is not the first in his line. You carry the story of men who walked through fire long before you were born. You are the echo of endurance, the child of survivors, the continuation of a bloodline that refused to break. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look back over the past, with its changing empires that rose and fell, and you can foresee the future too." He wasn't romanticizing history. He was reminding us, you are not small. You are the product of thousands of battles you never saw, but feel in your bones every time life gets hard. You weren't just born, you were chosen by time, by trials, by the convergence of generations who clawed their way forward. You carry in you the instincts of men who didn't have comfort. They had cold mornings, they had calloused hands, they had war in the dirt, hunger in the gut, and fire in the chest. And that fire, it didn't die. It flickers in you. So when you feel like you're not enough, it's not because you lack strength. It's because you haven't yet summoned it. Seneca once said, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult." Stop waiting for strength to show up like a miracle. It doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It comes when your back is against the wall and your soul chooses to rise. Understand this. You are not here by mistake. That breath in your lungs, that beating in your chest, that fire behind your eyes, none of it is accidental. You are here because something in this world requires what only your mind, your voice, your resilience can offer. Your gift isn't your job. It's your ability to endure, evolve, and inspire others to do the same. But self-doubt buries that gift. It puts a dimmer switch on the divine. Every time you whisper, "Who am I to do this?" remember this truth. You are the son of grit. You are the descendant of those who endured. And you are meant to sharpen the world with the same fire. No more shrinking, no more apologizing for your voice, your ideas, your power. The Stoics didn't live for comfort. They lived for virtue, for clarity, for discipline. You don't need more chances. You need more courage. Courage to remember who you are. Courage to stop underestimating the strength that's already in you. Courage to act, even when you're afraid. Because your ancestors didn't survive so you could spend your life second-guessing your worth. They survived so you could build. So building, with fire, with focus, with the same defiance that lives in the deepest part of you. 3. Self-doubt is a liar in your own voice. There's an enemy inside you. It doesn't wear armor. It doesn't carry a weapon. It whispers. And the worst part? It sounds just like you. It says, "You're not ready." It says, "They're better than you." It says, "Why even try?" This voice doesn't yell. It questions. And in the shadows of those questions, your potential dies a slow death. That voice is self-doubt, and it's one of the most seductive lies your mind can tell you. The Stoics never pretended to be fearless. They just refused to surrender to their fear. Epictetus taught, "It's not events that disturb us, but our judgment about them." Apply that to yourself. It's not your limits that are killing you. It's what you believe about your limits. It's the false story that plays on repeat, telling you you're not worthy, not strong enough, not smart enough, not ready. That narrative? It's not truth. It's a defense mechanism your brain created when life bruised you. Self-doubt was born the first time you failed publicly, the first time someone laughed when you tried, the first time you didn't measure up to someone else's expectations. And instead of rejecting their standards, you began to reject yourself. That doubt doesn't come from your soul. It comes from your scars. And the Stoics knew scars were not shameful. They were sacred. They proved you were engaged in the battle. They proved you had the courage to try and the strength to survive. You don't silence self-doubt with affirmations. You silence it with action. Self-doubt says, "You can't." You respond, "Watch me." Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Let that sink in. Most of the pain you feel, it never even happened. You just imagined it, rehearsed it, and made it real in your own mind. It's time to stop auditioning for your own failure. The next time you hear that voice, the one that questions your ability, thank it. Because it's revealing the very place where you must now grow. If doubt says, "You're not a leader," that's where you practice courage. If it says, "You don't have the discipline," that's where you start building it, brick by painful brick. And when it says, "You'll never change," that's when you prove that transformation is a decision, not a destiny. Your mind is a temple, but if you let doubt be the high priest, it will desecrate the altar of your potential. So replace its sermons. Every day, write down what that voice says, and then respond. I'm not enough. I'm more than what I've done. I can't lead. Leadership begins with service, and I choose to show up. I'll always be like this. Every Stoic was forged. So will I be. You don't destroy the voice of doubt by yelling over it. You destroy it by no longer agreeing with it. You are not your thoughts. You are the chooser of which thoughts to obey. And when you start obeying the ones that call you forward, you will no longer underestimate yourself. You'll remember, you were built for this. 4. Rebuilding confidence through adversity. You don't rebuild confidence by pretending you're okay. You rebuild it by walking barefoot through your brokenness and learning how to stand again. Most people want power without pain. They want confidence without the crisis. But that's not how character is made. Stoicism teaches us, the obstacle is not the enemy. The obstacle is the path. Marcus Aurelius said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. So if you've been doubting yourself because of failure, good. Because now you're standing on the very ground where strength is built. Confidence doesn't come from talking yourself up. It comes from surviving what tried to kill your spirit. It comes from doing what you thought you couldn't, even if your hands shook and your voice cracked while doing it. Confidence is forged in friction, and friction always starts with adversity. The Stoics never ran from suffering. They stood face to face with it, not because they were fearless, but because they knew fear was a better teacher than comfort ever could be. Look at your life. Every pain you've faced, every mistake you've made, every heartbreak you've carried. Those weren't the end of you. They were the shaping of you. You didn't fall apart. You fell into place. One truth, one scar, one decision at a time. Seneca said, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. So when life pushes you to your knees, don't ask why you fell. Ask what strength you're being called to discover down there. Maybe the setback was a syllabus. Maybe the struggle was a summons. Maybe the wound was where the wisdom would enter. You keep underestimating yourself because you keep starting over, never staying long enough in the discomfort to let it mature into self-trust. Let me be blunt. You will never feel confident if you keep breaking promises to yourself. Not because you're weak, but because confidence is built in the shadow of consistency. Confidence says, I know I can do this. But consistency whispers, because I've done it before. You don't need more hype. You need more repetition. More quiet days where you show up even when no one sees. More silent victories that only you and your future self will remember. When the Stoics faced hardship, they didn't ask, why me? They asked, how can I use this? That's the mindset shift. That's the warrior lens. Instead of seeing your struggle as punishment, see it as preparation. The man you admire, the one you want to become. He is being trained right now in the school of difficulty. You want discipline? Adversity is your trainer. You want purpose? Pain is your introduction. You want to stop underestimating yourself? Then stop walking away from the fire and walk through it with your eyes open. No one becomes unshakable by accident. It happens day by day, pressure by pressure, failure by failure. And yes, it hurts. But pain doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're under construction. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have been formed of 3 parts, body, breath, and mind. Of these, the last alone is truly yours. So stop letting your confidence hang on how you look, how much money you have, or who likes your work. Those things fade. But the man who conquers his mind, that man becomes immovable. Your mind is your temple. Your discipline is your foundation. And your pain is your teacher. And when you walk through adversity with Stoic eyes, you stop shrinking in your own story. You stop doubting your design, and you finally start becoming who you were always meant to be. 5. Virtue over validation, the Stoic secret to lasting power. The world teaches you to seek validation. The Stoics teach you to seek virtue. Validation fades. Virtue forms. And most of the world can't tell the difference. You scroll, you post, you compare, you doubt. And every like becomes a little hit of approval you think you need to keep going. But Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in human history, wrote in his journal not to impress the world, but to remind himself of this. Ambition means tying your well-being to what other people say or do. Sanity means tying it to your own actions. If you keep underestimating yourself, it's likely because you've built your worth on external reaction. And when the world is silent, so are you. But listen, your value is not based on visibility. It's based on alignment. Alignment with what you know is true. Alignment with what your soul knows is right. What is virtue? It's not some vague moral idea. It's your code, your clarity, your compass. The Stoics define virtue as 4 pillars. 1. Wisdom, the ability to discern what is true and good. 2. Courage, the willingness to act on that truth. 3. Justice, treating others and yourself rightly. 4. Temperance, self-control in the face of desire or emotion. That's it. No popularity, no followers, no need for recognition, just character. If your life lacks confidence, it's not because you need more compliments. It's because you need more commitment to these internal standards. Confidence built on claps crumbles in silence, but confidence built on character, that's eternal. The Stoics weren't emotionless. They were principled. They didn't numb themselves. They mastered themselves. Because they understood what the world gives, the world can take. But what you become, that stays. You want to stop underestimating yourself? Detach from the illusion that external success makes you worthy. Your bank account is not your backbone. Your status is not your substance. Your reputation is not your reality. Let go of being impressive. Be impeccable instead. Impeccable in thought. Impeccable in action. Impeccable in how you face discomfort with courage and silence with integrity. Stop chasing the version of yourself that gets applause. Start building the version of yourself that earns your respect when no one is watching. Seneca said, "What is to be admired? A man who is wise and good, not because others say so, but because he is so." That man doesn't post his virtue. He lives it. He doesn't announce his discipline. He embodies it. You may not be praised, but you will sleep in peace. And that peace? That is worth more than anything the world can give you. The men who last aren't the loudest. They're the most stable. They move with principle. They speak with purpose. They act with conviction, not for praise, but because it's who they are. You want that kind of power? Then stop trying to look powerful. Start living by Stoic principle. Validation feels good, but virtue builds greatness. When you show up in truth, when you act with courage, when you honor your values, even when no one is clapping, that's when the man inside you finally believes, I can trust myself again. That is when underestimation dies, not when people approve, but when you finally become the man who doesn't need them to. 6. The mind is your kingdom. Guard it or be ruled by it. Your mind is your kingdom. And like any kingdom, it's under constant attack, not by armies, but by thoughts. Thoughts that slip in quietly, dressed like truth. They whisper things like, you're not enough. They disguise themselves as logic, memory, reason. And soon, what was once a throne becomes a cage. But hear this clearly. The Stoics didn't bow to thoughts. They questioned them, tested them, transformed them. Because they understood the unguarded mind becomes the breeding ground for your own destruction. Epictetus said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Translation: nothing can control you without your permission. You are the gatekeeper, not your pain, not your past, not your environment. But most people walk through life like their mind is public property. They let every criticism enter, every fear take a seat, every memory from 10 years ago roam freely, wrecking today's peace. Would you let a stranger walk into your house and rearrange your furniture? No? Then why let one insecure comment ruin your week? Guard your mind, not by force, but by awareness. The Stoics didn't believe every thought that crossed their mind. They treated each one like a messenger, asking, who sent you? What do you want? What truth do you carry? Because here's the brutal truth. Not every thought is yours. Some were planted by childhood trauma, by failure, by rejection, by society's shallow standards. So before you let a thought stay, inspect it. I'll never change. Who told you that? Was it true? Or did it just hurt? I'm too late. According to whose timeline? Who made them the timekeeper of your life? I'm not smart enough. Measured by what? A grade? A comment? A moment? Every unchallenged thought becomes a chain. But every challenged thought is a door. A Stoic mind isn't emotionless. It's fortified, like stone against the wind, like a lighthouse in a storm. To build that kind of mind, you don't just meditate. You monitor. You keep watch over the gates. When a fear enters, you ask, is this real? Or is this just old pain in disguise? When a desire tempts you, you ask, will this serve my highest self, or only my momentary craving? When a failure haunts you, you ask, did I grow? Did I learn? Then it was not wasted. This is how you build internal sovereignty. The Stoics often practiced silence, not because they lacked words, but because they knew the mind needs stillness to be sharpened. When you sit with yourself, without the noise, the scrolling, the distractions, you start to notice which thoughts belong and which ones are parasites. Marcus Aurelius wrote, nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. But most people never go there. They fear what they'll find. Don't be one of them. Go in, sit down, and clean house. When you master your mind, you don't become cold. You become clear. You don't become detached from life. You become deeply connected to what matters. You don't stop feeling. You stop being ruled by fleeting feelings. You become sovereign, a king of the unseen kingdom. A man who does not react, he responds. Who does not crumble, he reflects. Who does not fear his mind, he commands it. You want to stop underestimating yourself? Then start with your mind. Fortify it. Clean it. Rule it. Because no matter what the world tries to take from you, if your mind remains yours, you will never be conquered. 7. Born ready. Reclaiming your inner authority. There's a reason you resonate with Stoicism. There's a reason you're drawn to strength, stillness, and silence. It's not because you're trying to become something new. It's because deep down, you're trying to return to what you've always been. You were born ready, but life taught you to forget. From childhood, they trained you to wait. Wait until you're older. Wait until you're better. Wait until you're chosen. But the Stoics taught something radically different. That everything you need to begin is already within you. Epictetus wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You don't need someone to unlock you. You need to stop handing out keys to everyone but you. Every time you wait for someone else to affirm your worth, you give away power. Every time you delay because you don't feel ready, you give away power. And every time you believe the lie that greatness belongs to others, but not to you, you give away everything. But listen carefully. No title will make you more of a man. No amount of applause will give you inner conviction. And no permission slip will ever be sent to your soul saying, "Now you're worthy." You must reclaim that authority from within. Because no one is coming to crown you. You were already crowned the day you decided to rise. The greatest Stoics weren't waiting for signs, they were becoming the sign. They didn't ask, "What if I fail?" They asked, "Will I grow?" They didn't wait to feel courageous. They acted courageously, then discovered the feeling followed. They didn't need the crowd, because they had solitude. And in solitude, they heard the voice that most men drown with noise. That voice is yours. It's still there, beneath the clutter, the compromise, the comfort. And it's waiting to be reawakened. Stop walking through life like a victim of your circumstances. You are not a result. You are a vessel, a carrier of vision, resilience, grit, and unbreakable truth. But here's the catch. You cannot carry both vision and victimhood. You must choose. You must choose to stop blaming the past. Choose to stop waiting for signs. Choose to stop underestimating the warrior inside you. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." You're not too old. You're not too late. You're just too distracted, but not anymore. The reason you keep underestimating yourself is because you keep asking, "What if I'm not ready?" But readiness isn't a feeling. It's a decision. It's the moment you stop questioning your identity and start embodying it. You don't need the perfect plan. You need posture. Posture of the spirit. Posture of the mind. Posture of the man who says, "Even if I fail, I move forward with fire." Because it's better to fail as yourself than succeed as a shadow of someone else. So this is your moment. Not a performance, not a declaration, just a quiet remembrance. You were born ready. You were born with the capacity to rise, rebuild, and remember. Not because you're flawless, but because you were formed for fire. The Stoics didn't fear the flame. They became it. And now it's your turn. 8. You were built for this, a Stoic call to rise. All your life, you've waited for someone to tell you, "You're ready." But the Stoics didn't wait. They rose. They rose, not because they felt ready, but because they knew they were needed. And so are you. Not needed to be perfect, not needed to be famous, but needed to be honest, resilient, and alive, in a world that worships distraction and numbs discomfort. You were built for this, for struggle, for silence, for purpose. And until you accept that truth, you will continue to underestimate the very power placed within your soul. When Marcus Aurelius woke each morning, he didn't rise to applause. He rose to duty. He reminded himself daily. When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. No fanfare, no likes, just one man, one breath, one mission. That's what Stoicism does. It strips away the noise until all that remains is clarity. Until all that remains is a fire you can trust. Let's get something straight. There is nothing wrong with you because you feel fear. There is nothing shameful about the doubt that creeps in, and there is no failure in falling short if you rise again with wisdom. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." So don't curse the trials. Don't waste energy wishing your struggle was lighter. Train for the weight. Lift it. Carry it. Use it to build the backbones most men never develop. Because every time you underestimate yourself, it's not humility, it's hesitation. And hesitation is the silent killer of destiny. There's a version of you that doesn't flinch under pressure. That doesn't need applause to stay motivated. That doesn't waver when things don't go as planned. That version isn't a fantasy. He's forged through fire, solitude, self-reflection, and radical personal responsibility. He shows up when you stop needing the world to crown you. He shows up when you hold yourself to the highest standard, even when no one else does. He shows up when you say, "Today, I rise." Not for them, for me. You ask for purpose. You ask for calling. You ask for a sign. And yet, the greatest sign is the very thing you keep running from. The pain, the pressure, the problem. That's where the work is. That's where the power is. The Stoics knew it wasn't the outcome that made a man great. It was how he showed up while no outcome was guaranteed. You've heard the truth. Now what? Will you go back to underestimating yourself? Or will you finally step into the arena? Not as a perfect man, but as a present one. Not with all the answers, but with the willingness to face the questions, not waiting for certainty, but moving with conviction anyway. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." You don't need more inspiration, you need execution. You don't need more time, you need decision. And you don't need more validation. You need to become the man your soul respects when you're alone. You were built for this, for clarity, for discipline, for inner peace. So if you've been underestimating yourself, let this be the day that ends. You were never too late. You were never too weak. You were just waiting to remember what was always true. You were born for this moment. And now it's yours. Go.